Hi guys, it's me Anne from Geeks of Green and welcome to our channel. Today we will talk about the very popular Hoya compacta, also known as the Hindu rope plant. Now this plant was on my wish list for the longest time, years ago. I used to see its photos on Pinterest and I used to just wonder what kind of a plant it is because of its weirdly shaped leaves and the way it flowers. Back then I didn't know what a Hoya was also. Over the years I did try keeping a few Hoya compactas, but none of them survived. Even the good healthy ones that I bought didn't survive in my balcony. Low light, and because of low light the plant couldn't take care of itself and its defenses went down and mealybugs got it and eventually it died. So it's very sad that I couldn't keep the Hoya compacta and generally Hoyas in general. So I kept very few Hoyas. I used to give away all my Hoyas to my brother because he had a space where he could keep Hoyas where there was enough light for the plants to grow and thrive. Sometime back, if you remember, I did put a video on my channel about the Bestwa grow light. They sent me a grow light and it has been working wonders. I've been able to keep plants that I couldn't keep before. I've been able to keep Hoyas. I've been able to keep plants that flower and fruit. And it's really thrilling for me, especially having a north-facing balcony which is low on sunlight. So let's talk about this Hoya compacta and a few tips and tricks about how you can care for it, what you need to do for it, and how you can get it to grow. Now, when this plant came to me, it was just this big, and all of this till the very end is all new growth. It's been growing steadily and it's been throwing new leaves. The leaves are growing bigger and it's healthy, and mealybugs are nowhere near it. Though my other plants, few of them have mealybugs, they haven't come on this one. Now some Hoyas are easier to grow than the others. I would rate the Hoya compacta as a tough one to crack because it is a little difficult to grow. Today we will talk about what worked for this Hoya compacta and how I was able to keep it alive. So if you're trying your hand at this plant and you have a desire to grow this plant, I hope this video will really help you. The very first thing about this plant I will say is it needs sunlight. You cannot keep it in a dull dark corner and expect it to thrive or grow. For me, it worked only after I put up the Bestwa grow light. It started growing. If you have a sunny windowsill, nothing like it. You can keep as many Hoyas as you want and they will all grow. So the kind of light that it gets in my balcony is around 7,000 to 8,000 lux under the grow light. And the light is on for 8 hours. So constantly 8,000 lux for 8 hours. That is how this growth happened. And I'm really thrilled. I still haven't seen my Hoya compacta flower. I feel I'm happy with its growing right now, and if it flowers, it's a bonus for me. And I will definitely post it on Instagram if it ever happens. I will post updates of this, how it does. And so that reminds me to remind you to follow me on Instagram if you haven't followed me yet. I do put some planty updates over there as well. So before I talk about watering, I will first talk about the substrate or the media that the plant is sitting in, because that directly impacts your watering, how you water your plant. If your plant is sitting in a soil mix that is moisture retaining, it will need to be watered less. And if it's a well draining mix, it needs to be watered a little more. So you need to change your watering according to the media that it is in, and it's very important. So I believe if you want to be a master at watering your plant, ensure that your soil mix is perfect for your plant. The kind of soil mix that you need to make for your Hoya compacta cannot be taken lightly. It has to be a good soil mix that is chunky, airy, and it drains water very well. At the same time, it retains a little bit of moisture. It is also nutrient rich and it doesn't compact around the roots. That is extremely important for your Hoya. You need a chunky mix. So if you want to see what kind of mix I use, I have a video on that. It's an aroid mix, which I also use for my Hoyas, but I increase the amount of orchid bark or the amount of pumice that is there in that so that it's more chunky than compacting. Now once my mix is sorted, it's chunky and nice, the Hoya is automatically very happy. It's got its sunlight, it's got a nice chunky mix. Now all I need to do is master the watering bit. Watering is not an issue once my soil mix is sorted. I can water and let the water drain out from the bottom holes. Ensure that you water the substrate completely, moisten the substrate whenever you are watering, and you will need to water again once the substrate is kind of dry. Not completely dry, but kind of dry. Ensure that the substrate is never soggy because it will rot the roots and your plant will eventually die. So you have to be very careful with this watering. Mostly Hoyas need lesser water than other plants. So don't go overboard on the watering. Don't overwater your plant. You can kill it very easily that way. Underwater it. But if you underwater it too much, you will see the leaves dehydrate and become thin. Hoyas naturally are having fleshy leaves. So you know that plants that have fleshy leaves need less water. So go by that rule. Now when we water our plants, we generally hose them. But we're very careful that we don't hose the Hoya leaves because it will hold water. Now I have just washed it to get the dust off, and when I am shaking it, you can see how much water is coming out. So I generally don't wash the leaves. The leaves are usually kept as dry as possible. Because the leaves are so curly and so twisted, they hold in the water. So ensure that you don't, wash it too much or mist it or pour water over the leaves too much. Water the substrate, that should be enough. The next thing that I would like to talk about this plant is it is a magnet for mealybugs, especially if this plant is weak, it's not getting enough sunlight, not getting enough nutrients. It won't be able to defend itself from a mealybug infestation. If mealybugs get to this plant, it is practically impossible to get them out because of the way the leaves are. The bugs can go inside and hide themselves. So one thing that we do occasionally is spray a little bit of neem oil solution just as a safety precaution. You don't need to do it, but you can if you are really scared of mealybugs like I am. See that you again don't overdo it because it's a plant that doesn't like wet leaves generally. Sit with it and observe. Look for any kind of bugs on it. If you hang it in a place where it's close to you, where you're having a coffee and all, you can just look at the beauty of the plants and find the bugs as well. If you find a bug, get rid of them. It's very difficult to get rid of the ones that are very much inside. So I would say prune that part off and try to propagate that, but save your plant from mealybugs. Observation is the key, and getting rid of them completely by picking them out is what you can do. Neem oil solution is something that you can try. It is not very effective, but yes, you can just use it as a precaution to keep them at bay. Hosing down the plant once in a while if there is a mealybug infestation, or washing it under the tap where there's a little bit of force of water. These leaves are sturdy, they won't break off easily. So with that force, the bugs might get washed off, and your plant also won't be harmed. But it's one thing that you can do. The only thing I fertilize my Hoyas or my compacta with is seaweed fertilizer. It's a liquid fertilizer. When I do it for my plants, for my other plants, I do it for this one too. That's the only kind of fertilizer I put. I do not top up the soil with cow dung or with vermicompost. I just put seaweed solution. You can, if you want, put occasionally some cow dung or vermicompost as well. Or one thing you can do is occasionally you can mix a batch of the soil mix, put in a little bit of vermicompost in that and top up the soil. Because as you water, some soil always gets drained off and the levels keep going down. But because it's a very chunky mix, you might have to remove a bit of soil mix it up with vermicompost and put it back in. One last point before I close this video is airflow. It does well in hanging baskets where there is a little bit of airflow. It dries up the plant, doesn't sit moist, and it doesn't have to combat overwatering. It dries out quickly. So I always keep it in this hanging basket under that light, and my plant is doing well. Ensure that it gets a little bit of airflow, your plant will be happy. Now that's all you need to do to take care of your Hoya compacta and help it to grow and thrive in under your care. So I wish you all the best. Do let me know in the comments below if you have tried something else, and if there are some points that I haven't covered. We would all like to know, and it would be wonderful if you would share it with the community. I really hope to see you soon in another video in the next week. I will be trying to put out more videos. I know I've been a little inconsistent in the past few months, but I apologize for that, and I hope to come back with a lot more videos that will help you make your garden greener. And till I see you next time, stay green.